Standard violin repertoire is standard for a reason. There's no grand conspiracy out there to convince you that the Brahms Violin Concerto is one of the greatest pieces of music ever written for the instrument. It just really is that good. Though I do have my own controversial opinions about the Beethoven Concerto, however. This being what it is doesn't mean that there aren't some really great pieces that end up slipping through the cracks, and today I wanted to introduce you to some of my favorites. I'm Tobias Murphy, and this is Murphy Music Academy. Now, the first piece on my list is the fourth Paganini Violin Concerto, or really just the last movement. The first couple of movements are fine, but much like the second Violin Concerto, from whose finale we get the famous La Campanella, the first two-thirds of the piece are largely forgettable. However, the finale of Concerto No. 4 might have been a rival of the aforementioned Little Bell had it also been graced with a memorable nickname, as well as opportunities for kitschy but fun performance gimmicks. It's one of the most delightful and piquant compositions within the Romantic violinist-composer repertoire that Paganini spearheaded. When played with the style, timing, and panache of Gidon Kremer, my favorite recording, it becomes a transport to some kind of rowdy Italian concert hall, the kind where you might expect to see Paganini himself bewitching and mesmerizing his audience. As I said before, my personal favorite recording of this is that of Gidon Kremer's, but there's also a really great video performance of Ruggiero Ricci here on YouTube, so you can actually see all of the fantastic technical fireworks, as well as hear all the lovely flirtatious melodies. The next piece on our list is something you probably have no familiarity with whatsoever, unless, of course, you were in some ways associated with the Summer Music Institute in Ottawa about 15 years ago. And by Ottawa, I mean Ottawa, Kansas. That's right, there was a Summer Music Institute in Ottawa, Kansas. Usually when you tell people you went to the Ottawa Music Institute for the summer, they think you're talking about Pinchas Zukerman thing up in Canada. But no, there actually is one in Kansas. If any of you have ever heard of the violinist Brian Lewis, it's actually based out of the Suzuki Institute run by his mother, who is from the town of Ottawa, Kansas. And believe it or not, there wasn't just the Suzuki Institute, there was also a slightly more advanced 10-day program called Sound Encounters that was not run, but very heavily influenced by Brian Lewis. He would come there and work with a lot of the students, and he had a composer friend named Michael McLean. Now, most of McLean's compositional output up to this point had been primarily in arranging violin duets that he would then record with Brian Lewis and sell the CDs and, of course, the sheet music in the school music store. And to be honest, if you're looking for some good intermediate level duets to either play with a friend or with a student, I would check those out. However, around 2004-2005, McLean decided that he wanted to get a bit more ambitious with his compositions and decided to write a violin concerto. The concerto ended up being a concept piece based on the Greek elements with one movement corresponding to each: earth, fire, air, and water. And the compositional style is so incredibly evocative, I'm pretty sure that right off the bat you would be able to tell me exactly which element this movement represents. That's right, it's water. Now, the water movement is my favorite, but the entire recording is on YouTube and you should go listen to the whole thing. And in fact, some of you might want to check to see if the music is available. I actually checked about 10 years ago. I know the piece is getting close to 20 years old, and unfortunately, as of about 10 years ago, they still had not publicly published the music, but it's something that some of you might be interested in playing if it's available. So go check that out. Now, the last piece I want to talk about today, it happens to be one of my absolute favorite violin concertos ever written, even though hardly anyone knows about it and only 2 or 3 people I know of have played it. And it also happens to be one of the most ridiculously, annoyingly difficult pieces I have ever had the pleasure of playing. Castelnuovo-Tedesco's Violin Concerto No. 2. Now, much like the McLean Concerto, the Castelnuovo-Tedesco is also a concept piece of sorts, except instead of the Greek elements, each movement is based off of one of the Hebrew prophets. Isaiah is represented in the first somber and incredibly grandiose first movement. weeping prophet Jeremiah is represented in the mournful lament that it makes up the second movement. And the final, most felicitous movement is represented by Elijah, a man so powerful and so holy that God didn't even bother allowing him to die, but instead took him straight up to heaven in a fiery chariot. Considering that this piece was, in fact, written for Heifetz, trying to play some of the stuff does, in fact, to keep on with the Old Testament analogies, feels like you're contending with a fiery pillar. Like, seriously, what is this? What is that? What is that? Oh, what's that? It's supposed to go 3 times faster? You know what? Funny thing is, I actually did play this at one point. It's been a few years. Suppose if you're gonna write something for Jascha Heifetz, you might as well milk that for all it's worth. Anyway, I thought it would be fun to share some of my favorite pieces that I don't think get enough exposure or enough love. Let me know in the comments if you ever even heard of any of these pieces, or if there are some pieces that maybe I have missed that you think more people should know about. Anyway, I've been Tobiah Murphy for Murphy Music Academy. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and for instant gains in violin performance, check out some of my other videos, because there is no pleasure in mediocrity. Happy practicing, and I'll see you next time.